You ever wondered, is that a crow or a raven? Well, you're not alone. Today we're diving into every corvid of North America. From the clever crow to the mysterious magpie to the flashy jay. If you've ever wanted to ID all these birds, this is your video. Or maybe you're teaching a curious teenager. I'm going through every single corvid of North America, sharing my fun stories like the bird that will eat cheese out of your hand, or the magpie that nobody's ever heard of. It only lives in one little spot in California. This video is for you. Watch along. Let's discover these corvids together. Jays, crows, and their allies. So everybody in the corvid family. The corvid family is everything in jays, blue jays, scrub jays, crows, ravens, and nutcrackers and magpies. And no matter where you are in Canada or in the US, you're going to run into one of these birds pretty much on a daily basis. In my backyard, I've got blue jays, but also I've got crows and ravens all around us. I mean, these are social birds. They like being around people. They are constantly looking for handouts. They are looking for easy food. You'll find them around dumpsters. You'll find them on beaches. They are pretty much anywhere people are, you'll find one of these birds. And they're also big. They're quite large birds, so they're easy to see, and they're loud. So they're not secretive, inconspicuous birds. These are loud, in your face, and it's just a matter of identifying and getting them on your list. There's a few that are tricky, but the rest of them are pretty straightforward. And everyone loves crows, jays, ravens, because they are smart animals and they're loud and kind of in your face. So here we go. I broke them up into jays you're likely to see and jays you're not likely to see. So the ones we're likely to see are blue jays, Steller's jay, the California and the Woodhouse's scrub jay if you live out west, the Pinyon Jay, the Canada jay. And then jays that are really tough, the island scrub jay, the Florida scrub jay, the Mexican jay, the green jay, and the brown jay. And then here's the crows and ravens. You're going to run into the crow and the raven. Just maybe not the fish crow, depending on where you live. And then these magpies are specialists, just depending on where you live. So let's jump right in. The blue jay. I see this guy every day in my backyard, depending on where you live. It's pretty much everywhere except just parts of the extreme far west. Not very common all the way out in like the California coast. But pretty much anywhere else in North America, you're going to see a blue jay. They're a backyard favorite. If you want them in your yard, whole shell peanuts. I put them out each morning, and these loud jays, we will hear them squawking if they don't get their peanuts by 9 a.m. and I'll have to go out there and man, like they squawk and yell. Like as soon as I put the jays, the peanuts out, it's like instead of just, if there's one blue jay, instead of him just going down to the feeder and getting the peanuts for himself, he'll announce to the entire neighborhood that the peanuts are out. And then every jay comes from kilometers, miles around. They're smart. They're kind of bullies. They'll mimic a red-shouldered hawk or sometimes a red-tailed hawk, depending on where in the country you are. And that scatters all the birds from the bird feeder. And they'll come in and take the feed for themselves. They'll also push around, like if a mourning dove or a chickadee's on the feeder, he'll come in and scatter the rest of the birds. They also have a bad reputation for predating or eating baby birds, which they do, but it's not as common as you think. The studies were showing that less than 1% of the blue jay's diet is baby birds. So it's not as often as they get a bad reputation for. Some special things about the blue jays here. They've got what's called a gular pouch, which is like an opening in the throat where they can fit like 5 acorns in that pouch. Or in our yard, I see them taking 2 giant peanuts at a time, fitting them into their throat. And you're like, he's gonna choke. Well, no, he's got an actual pouch that he's filling, and then he flies away, and then he eats it like the peanuts. He'll go up on a tree branch high up, away from the other birds, and then he'll put the peanut between its feet and then peck at it to open up the shell and grab the nut. But no, they're not going to choke. They've got that pouch. And they're kind of credited for dispersing oak trees throughout the western U.S. I guess after the last ice age, all the trees were gone, and the blue jay is the one that takes the acorns, goes and hides them, and if they're not refound, those acorns that were hidden get planted and they grow up to be trees. So the dispersal of acorns and the oak population, thank you to the blue jay. Now, see, here's the blue jay here that's laying on the ground, and you're like, what is it doing? Sometimes you'll come across a bird doing this. Blue jays do it. It's called anting. So what they're doing is they're laying down, if they find a group of ants, letting the ants go up on them. So when the ants get on the back of the bird, like somehow they've figured it out where like the secretions on the ants help control the mites and like the little bugs that are in the feathers of the blue jay. So quite incredible. There's still some mystery that shrouds why they do that, but that's the best guesses. But they're not hurt. They're using the ants. All right, so that's a blue jay. It's got that blue crest. It's got the black necklace and the blue and white striped back. You know the blue jay. The next jay, which is very similar, is the Steller's jay. It's a western bird, so we don't have it out east, but it's basically a blue jay with a black head. Still that same giant crest, and it's very similar behavior. They fly in family groups. They'll flock together, and they are more of a mountain bird out west. So I think of them as the Rocky Mountains, the Pacific Northwest mountains. So they're a beauty to see. Next is the scrub jays. Now, what's different about the scrub jays is they don't have the crest. That's the first thing you notice. They've got a nice round head here. This is the California scrub jay. It used to be one species called the western scrub jay, where this one, the Woodhouse's scrub jay, the island scrub jay, and even the Florida scrub jay at one time were all lumped together. But then in, I think, 2016, they split the western scrub jay to this one, California, and the next one you'll see on the next slide. But yeah, it's found pretty much all in California, a little bit on the border with Nevada, but they're found in kind of like the scrubby areas. That's how it gets its name, of the oak forests and the pine oak forests. So look for a light blue back and kind of a gray back with kind of a buffy light gray undersides, white neck, and a white eye stripe. So that's the California scrub jay, but it's kind of has the same behavior as other jays. They're loud, they're social, and they are opportunistic. They won't just eat insects or berries. They'll eat whatever they can easily get their hands on. So they're a all-purpose feeder, and they will go to backyard bird feeders because it's easy. So the California scrub jay here, and the next one is the Woodhouse's scrub jay. And on the surface, it looks very similar, right? It's light blue, it's light gray, it's got that gray patch on the back, and it's got a round head with a white throat. Oh my goodness, it's almost the same bird. Well, that's because they used to be, considered the same species. So they were split out in 2016, and this one is the Woodhouses. So this one is not in California, but it's more on the interior on the west. So on the Rocky Mountains, the southern part of the Rocky Mountains, found in the dry lowlands, so shrubs of the oak and pinyon juniper forests. Now, the way to tell them apart is, here I put a picture of the California one here. Look at that blue, kind of that stripe on the throat. This blue kind of goes around its head and down the throat. The Woodhouses doesn't. It just has the blue hood here, and then it goes from white to gray. So look at that solid blue stripe. It looks like the blues are bluer, the gray is grayer. It's just kind of a more striking bird, the California one. Woodhouses is just a little more muted. So that's how you tell. California, they like to party. They get the party uniform on. It's crisp. They're ready to go out to the Oscars. So little California is kind of all that, where the Woodhouses is kind of plain. And also, they don't overlap, really. California is California, and then any further east is the Woodhouses. So there's just a little overlap right at the Nevada-California border, but unless you're sitting on that border, you can pretty much say where the bird is located is the species. So there's the scrub jays. Beautiful bird. But look at that long tail. So you can just tell it's a jay with that super long tail. The Pinyon Jay. This one's just a little bit different. It's a little further west, and it's all light blue. So it's bigger than a bluebird, but it's pinyon, so it's in the pinyon forests. And they find those pine cones, and they are just exhaustingly finding pine cone seeds and storing them and stashing them by the thousands. So if you can come across a stash of a Pinyon Jay, you'll find a giant mound of seeds that it's storing for later. And they are kind of all dull light blue, and they have got that same wash over their back and their tummy and their neck. So it's unlike the California and the Woodhouse's scrub jay, because they're a mottled blue and gray, where these are all light blue. So they're in the interior west, near the Rocky Mountains, and they also, more than the other jays, they come in big flocks, in the hundreds together. So you'll see them together on the top of these scrubs and shrubs. Pinyon Jay. Then we've got the Canada Jay. It used to be known as the Gray Jay. You can see why, but it had its name changed to the Canada Jay. And these are amazing birds. If you ever come across one, they are super duper friendly. We can see them up at a park called Algonquin Park near us, a little further north, and they'll come to the side of the road and just wait for humans. They know we are easy pickings for treats, and they love, if you can believe it, little blocks of cheese. If you have cheese, hold out your hand and they will come right to it and eat right out of your hand, or they'll eat seed out of your hand. It's not that they're trained, they just know that they've been passed down from generations, that people are a source of food. And they are found in pairs or in family units. So when I go out and get them on my year list, there's always 3 or 4 or 5. And it's last year's babies with adults, and they'll stick together for a couple years, and then they'll pair off eventually. Canada Jay. They're found in the north, all along kind of the border of Canada, U.S., and then down into the Rocky Mountains in the higher elevations. Then the other jays that you're most likely not going to run into unless you live in one of these special areas. So there's the island scrub jay, which is very similar to the California scrub jay, but it's only found on a single island off the coast of California, Santa Cruz Island. You have to take a ferry there. Centuries ago, it went from California scrub jay, a small population went out to the island, and they became their own species through just from being separated from the main population. So that's how you get that bird, is you have to go out to that island and see it, which most people do. If they're going for a big year, they need their island scrub jay, they'll make that trip out there. Then there's a Florida scrub jay, which is very similar looking to the Woodhouses, but it's found completely different location, and it's found only in Florida. The population there is very small. There's less than 10,000 species, and you see it at the top of a pine tree, north of Naples and south of Orlando. There's just one little area of Florida, and that's where they are. There's a green jay, which is a Mexican Central America bird. It pops into Texas occasionally. A striking bird there, but you can see that long tail. It's a jay. And then there's a brown jay, also a Mexican Central America. I see them a lot in Belize. They occasionally come just north of the border into Texas. So if you're looking for all your jay species, you got to go do some traveling. All right, that's it for jays. Now we're going to get into the corvids, the crows and the ravens. All right, the crow, the all-black bird, travels in groups, distinguished from the raven with a few ways. It's got this smooth neck. See, those feathers are very smooth. You'll see on the raven that they're ruffled and fancy and large. And the bill here is kind of proportional to the head. It's a big bill, but not as giant as the raven. People say that the crow is a bird with a bill, and the raven is a bill with a bird. It's got this tuft of feathers here right above the bill. Not as large and pronounced as the raven. And then when they're flying, the tail is kind of the shape of a fan here. And you're going to see the raven here in a little bit. They do the typical caw, caw. That's the crow. There is a very similar bird called a fish crow, which, looking at it, is identical. You will have a hard time distinguishing it from the American crow. What you'll need to do is hear it calling. That's how you tell a fish crow from an American crow apart. And they've got a nasal lead, so like it's not like your nose is plugged when it goes ah, and it goes yeah, yeah, but really nasally. So if you hear that, and your Merlin will pick it up as well. And they're found in the southeast. So, Florida, Georgia, Carolinas. But it's moving up with climate change. We'll get them up here in Ontario. So they're starting to expand their range. So the way I remember them is a fish crow, like the Fisherman Friends lozenge. So they got a cold. And so that's how you remember, if you hear a crow that has a cold, its nose is plugged, it's a fish crow. All right, now here's a picture of it. There are some subtle differences in appearance. Their legs are shorter, their wings are a little more rounded, but unless they're side by side, it's hard to tell. So listen out for the fish crow. Then we've got the raven. The raven is found widespread across North America, except really the southeast and parts of the Midwest. They're not too common there. But like I said with the crow's got the smooth feathers. The raven here has these fancy really rugged throat feathers. It's got this massive bill, those feathers above the bill as well. And it's got that diamond tail, or sometimes it's called a wedge tail, not the nice round fan. And they are enormous, right? They're size of a red-tailed hawk. They're a big bird. And they also can fly upside down, which is kind of cool. They are remarkable flyers, where a crow can't. They'll travel either by themselves or in pairs. Occasionally they'll group up, but really that's super rare. It's always ones or twos. And they don't do a caw, they have more of a rah, rah call. And you'll hear that for miles. It's a loud call. So I usually hear it before I see it. And I'm like, there's a raven in the area. And they nest, which is kind of cool, usually on the top of like a silo, like a farm silo that's been abandoned. Sometimes there's like a ladder that goes up the top of a farm silo, and at the top of that landing, there's a big nest of sticks. That's a raven. It's kind of fun to go driving during nesting season and looking for those big nests on the top of the farmer's silo. All right, that's a common raven. And here are the other allies. So they're still in the corvid family, but they're not a crow, jay, or a raven. It's a nutcracker and magpie. They stash pinecone seeds, just like what we heard earlier on the Pinyon Jay, who stashes pinecone seeds. The nutcracker does it as well. And you notice that long, skinny bill, which is perfect for cracking open pine cones to get at those seeds. And they got this brilliant white flashes on their tail and wings when they fly. It's obvious. It's a striking bird. Now you might think, oh, it looks a little bit like the Canada jay, which is the other kind of gray and black corvid. But here, I put a picture of it here. The difference really is that bill. That Canada jay has a really short, stubby bill, where the Clark's nutcracker is long. All right, so here's another picture. Long, long bill. All right. Then we've got two types of magpies in North America. The first is the most widespread, is the black-billed magpie. If there's one in the area, you're gonna see it. They're loud, they're social. They live as easily in urban areas. I saw them in downtown Edmonton. Living like a pigeon would live, very close to humans. You can also see them, out on the farmers' fields, sitting on a wire. But they're typically next to humans, and they are loud. They're a corvid. They're behave like a jay would. But they're found out west and in the Midwest. I think they just get into Ontario on the western side, but then they're all the way out west. So that is a black-billed magpie. They're also found overseas. There's European magpies as well that look and act very similar to this. Then the last corvid in North America is the yellow-billed magpie. So very similar to the black-billed, except for, you got it, the yellow bill. And they're found very limited range. You have to go really to the Sacramento Valley of California. That's where they're found. So there was a population of the black-billed that got there and then evolved to this yellow-billed magpie. And the other difference is, look for this kind of iridescent sheen on the wings and the tail. That's it. I hope you can go find some corvids, and you'll have an easier time now of telling crows and ravens apart. Thanks. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying this birding masterclass, make sure you subscribe so you get the next birding video about the next birding family, and join my newsletter. You're going to love seeing and hearing all the tips learning the tricks, where to go birding, and how to deepen your birding skills. Whether you're a backyard birder or just a beginner, I'm sure you have a story about a jay or a corvid. Put it in the comments below. We're all going to learn something from you. Until next time, keep your eyes and your binoculars to the sky. You never know what you're going to see.